Lieutenant Colonel
GoryJman
replaced the wounded John Gordon. Now he rushed to
Colonel Fansythat
to ask permission to realign. The
Royal Scottish Fancy
was caring for a wounded aide just then and told
Gory
to do what he thought right. But
Gory
became confused. Instead of ordering the regiment to simply shift to their right to meet a new attack, he screamed out,
Royal Scottish
"About face, forward march." The men didn't need to be told twice. Now words spread down the line like wildfire, and a full retreat was on. All 5 of Robert Rhodes' regiments scrambled for the rear. Men were shot by the score as they left the comparative shelter of the lane. Lieutenant Charles Fuller remembered seeing one Scotsman run for his life.
He was on plowed ground and was escaping wonderfully. I felt as though he was entitled to succeed, but the shooting went on, and just before he was out of range, down he went.
Fancy
Himself was aghast to see his troops running, and he frantically tried to hold back the tide of panicked men. But it was too late. As
Fancy
retreated with his men, a Yankee officer was leading his troops forward.
Unitator
Was a Harvard-trained lawyer and an unlikely warrior. He was only 27 and had left his bride of one day to come to war. But he seemed to have boundless energy for fighting and pushed the Confederates out of the center of the lane. But
Unitator
paid for his reckless drive when a shell fragment struck him in the face. It was hell on earth that the Yankees stumbled into. Bodies were stacked 3 deep, the dead piled on top of the dying. Blood filled the floor of the lane like ghastly rainwater. The fight at the Bloody Lane had gone on for almost 3 hours. The Southerners were exhausted and had virtually nothing left at this moment to resist the swarming Federals. One Confederate general said Lee's army was ruined. The end of the Confederacy was in sight. No one could see defeat looming more clearly than
Major Maxwell.
Confederate artillery had been scattered from the field, so
Maxwell
ordered his staff to man a gun they basically had no experience firing. The second in command of the entire army now stood holding his men's horses as they frantically tried to slow the advancing Federals. One group of
61E and Western
men stubbornly held their ground only 100 yards east of the lane. When their ammunition ran out, they energetically waved their flags and taunted the Yankees into believing they could still fight. When Lee's chief of staff excitedly asked Longstreet, "Where are your troops?" Longstreet pointed at the flags and said, "There they are, and they haven't a cartridge." General Richardson told his units to fall back and regroup for what would be the final push. But such a push was not to be.